So hello, working with OneDrive for Business. My name is Hans Brender. I'm an MVP for Office servers and services, and some friends around the globe, called me Mr. OneDrive. I do it a lot of times, starting with Groove, the old functionality, and now I am also a OneDrive expert. That's about 100 people all around the globe who speak a little bit more about OneDrive for Business, the next generation Syncline, and all this stuff. Welcome to the session about a lot of slides I have with me coming from Ignite, and therefore it will be very interesting what we will see. I'm working as a cloud productivity evangelist at Bright Skies here in Germany. That's a cloud company, our company bringing the partners to the cloud, taking most of Azure and Office 365. And yes, Germany is late behind because Office 365, but now we have 2 German data centers for Microsoft with a special role. And yes, now there is some light blue things at the end of the tunnel, and we see more and more people are thinking going to the cloud. You see all my different social networks, activities on Facebook, on Twitter, LinkedIn. I have a blog with about 770 blog posts in it, in German and in English. You can also reach me via email, and in Europe we also know in Xing. That's the same, the European version of a LinkedIn network, and you can reach me about all these channels, but give me a little bit time to react on all this stuff, because it's not so easy to handle all these difficulties. If you have any questions about the next generation Syncline, write which operating system are you using, which version of new generation Syncline you are doing and having now, and then your problem, because I need all these information. Otherwise, you got to mail back, yes, with all these questions. The next 45 minutes, I will talk a little bit about OneDrive. OneDrive, the numbers and the history, and the architecture roadmap to make the difference. It's not all people are clearly involved with all this stuff. And about deployment for administrators, about OneDrive for Mac, the new generation versions, groups, team sites, a little bit of OneDrive sharing, and also about OneDrive files on demand. So now you should have this one if you have the right update, the second update in the Windows 10 history. Not the small ones, the big ones. And also I will talk about OneDrive news from Ignite, and we'll have some recommendations and all the slides you want to have for OneDrive for Business. You will have this slide deck again at the end. Therefore, you should also do a little bit of your photo. Then you can react on this, and you got the slide deck also. That will come. Going on and start with numbers of history. That means look up these numbers. New OneDrive active users in August at Microsoft reported 34 million new users. That means, hey, people are around the globe see that these new OneDrive capabilities are so good that they have to change all new to OneDrive, or OneDrive Personal, or OneDrive for Business. 40 million files hydrated via Files on Demand. Files on Demand is coming at 17th of October, so you now have it. But in this time, I have to record this session. There was only the users who have the newest version, the insider version with Windows 10, and therefore it's a lot of stuff, 40 million. And 300 million downloads of mobile apps. Mobile apps are more and more becomes active. That means, yes, there is very interesting to have it on your phone. And also, if you connect all the OneDrive files we have, OneDrive Personal, OneDrive for Business, all these 5 are around now 250 billion. That's a lot of stuff we have there. So thinking about the notification area, and sometimes you see 3 little symbols. Sometimes it can be more, but 3 little symbols with different settings. The white ones we have is still OneDrive Personal. That's only white OneDrive Personal. And the blue ones are the old Groove client going to on-prem and the new next generation Syncline going to Office 365 and the different situations. So therefore, it could be more than one. It could be more than three. It depends on your configuration. And you have to react on these little blue, the light blue and the dark blue. That's the only one we have to change, and we see that, but it's not so easy to understand. Which version do I use? And if you look in the notification area and you have a white one, as I mentioned before, that's OneDrive Personal. And we go with the next generation Syncline, except with Windows 8.1. I will describe it later on with another graphic. If you have a blue one, then you have to look at the right click on it, on this blue one, and then you see a little icon on the left side at the pop-up area. Then you see that's the next generation Syncline, no blue icon, then the old Groove client. So you see very easy which of the blue icons are which engine, and therefore you see, hey, I don't need any Groove client. Why do I have it? Yeah, it depends from where you are starting. So thinking about the architecture. Now you see the blue man, that's me, and I'm sitting on a PC and have all these stuff with me. I have a lot of Word, Excel, PowerPoint files, and I am still having in the cloud. And you see, hey, there's OneDrive and OneDrive for Business. Hey, what the hell is that? Microsoft is always speaking about OneDrive, and they do not tell the personal one from the OneDrive for Business. That's a business process in Office 365. If a little bit more, you see on the right side the upload center. That means you have this one in the upload center. The upload center is for all Office documents to have a co-authoring and all this stuff. Therefore, they need the upload center. And you see several things are also in an Access database on your machine. And you see that that is all cool. That's not the big one that we have with Groove, but it's a small one. And not all files are doubled in like they have it on the Groove Excel. So otherwise you see the OneDrive, the SharePoint, the new Office 365. The OneDrive is OneDrive Personal. The SharePoint is SharePoint on-premise. If you have a SharePoint on-premise in your company, then you will have to connect with the red line, and red line means that's Groove in this time. And I will tell you a little bit more in a few seconds. And right, that's all documents you have in Office 365. You can also sync these stuff. That's a normal architecture you will have it there. But looking a little bit deeper, going in the past, Groove XE was the first one, and there are some differences of it. It's installation per device. That means, yes, for one or more people working on one device, you have only one installation on the device. There's only one language. You have to decide which language is there. It's only one language possible. And if you connect to a SharePoint on-prem or IRM protected library on Office 365, then you have to say yes, all or nothing. You cannot select something, and this folder I will not have in it. That's a little bit problem because so many data are in the folder, in the structure. You cannot change the structure sometimes. So that means all or nothing. And bad, no error messages. That's also a little thing because you have to say, yes, I want to have an error message. Sometimes it will not sync. Yes, it could be, and I will tell you in the next slide why it would happen. And therefore, it's a little bit problem. If I have no error message, and Microsoft decided 2 years ago, hey, we want to do it a new Syncline, the better version, and make it from scratch, a new sync engine, and this sync engine is much more better. But okay, we are still having Groove, and if you use Groove, you have to look for how many elements on my SharePoint on-prem team sites. 5,000 elements. If you have 5,001 element, it stops syncing. What the hell this says? Yeah. The file name is 265 characters. That means, hey, there are no possibility anymore to have more deeper file structure. No, it will not go. 256 characters with all the tenant name and all stuff in there. And if you have a file name with an hashtag and a percentage in it, no chance to synchronize such elements. Yeah. You see this Microsoft article at the bottom of the line. That's all the limits you will have with SharePoint on-prem with Groove. And then you see that's a little bit more, but that's the most important ones. Thinking about OneDrive, running in a user's context, that's the most different thing. You have to be online on your machine, and that means it's in a user's context this machine runs, and he has more than one instance. But first, you have in 113 different languages this stuff. That is most important. If you have a French guy and you don't speak French, the French guy is in the morning, me, I am in German and speak a little bit English, I in the afternoon. Yes, you will have different possible error messages or the messages because you know that's a difference on all this stuff. One engine, several instances. I will tell you a little bit more later on. And OneDrive X is enterprise ready. That means, yes, you have to control and can deploy all this stuff. Later on, I will show you also some slides. And it's a self-update mechanism. Thinking about, if you are in Office 365 and have some things, Microsoft is doing a little bit more. That means it's not so easy to say, yes, they will do it and have new functionality, but sometimes you need also on the client side a new version. So if you're an administrator, you know, I want to delay something, and that's a problem for Microsoft. If you have the new function, you get some error messages. Therefore, they decided not to come up with Windows and Vesus and all this stuff. No, a different self-engine in the engine himself is a self-update mechanism. Each time the day, once a day, he's looking for a new version. And it depends on the ring system at Microsoft. It depends on the version of your tenant, which one will select it. So that means, yes, sometimes he says, now we have a new version. Then he downloads a new version that's about 26 megabytes of all this stuff completely. Update if it's installed with the current version. You don't see that. If you have a quick machine, no problem. If you have a slow machine, it takes a little bit more time because it has to replace all these other things and then it will run. You don't have to go manually and install something. You can do that, but you don't need that. So it syncs only this time with Office 365. Later on, you will see it will also change, but this time only with Office 365. So that's a difference about all these machines. And we have to look what is going on. Oh, so I go back. Here are all files, and many people don't know that OneDrive Personal, you see that, is a file structure in Azure Files, and the Office 365 data are behind SharePoint, and that's a blob storage in Azure. So now we have to say, yes, there are two different synchronization mechanisms. That means two different protocols. Microsoft decided we have to use the old protocol, that BATS, and Background Intelligence Transfer Service. That's the old and established one, and it works for files that you do not co-authoring. That means, yes, you have a picture. This picture is not in co-authoring modus possible this time. Then you have to go, and all these data has to be done with bits. If you have an Office document, then it could be that the file synchronization via SOAP over HTTP is done. That means we can use Word or Excel and work together on different locations with one version of the file. So that's the two protocols we use. On the other side, the synchronization with SharePoint and the limitation are not so big ones. The file length is now 15 gigabytes. You see the file name can now be 400 characters. There is no invalid characters like a hashtag and percentage design. That's be done. And there are small things that have to be used. There is no possibility to sync data if you have an authenticated proxy or you have a library with check-in, check-out. We have done it in the past. But there is also no possibility this time with IRM. That means Information Rights Management Protected Libraries. But it will come. We will see it in the next slides. So although here is also the key B315202 that have all the absolute differences and limitations, synchronization with next generation Syncline. So you see, no valid characters like hashtag and percentage. It could be that you still have it. We have it in the past, I think it was July, that you can change the name, next text with this special character, and you see the hashtag. But you have to do and run this via PowerShell. I think this month or half of the next month, you will see that your organization will automatically have the possibility that these two characters also can be used in a different name. And you see, yes, it will work here, this sentence, this document with the hashtag, and you have no problems anymore. I have used also in the old past, and I have some documents from C#, and you saw, yeah, the sharp character is the hashtag, and therefore I have to say, okay, I have to rename all these files. But now you don't need that anymore. Looking with all these programs, you can have the next generation Syncline. Starting with Vista, yes, if you have Vista Service Pack 2, or Windows 7, Windows 8.0, Windows 10, Mac OS, and also on different server versions. You can have it also on the server version 2012 R2 or Windows Server 2016. But sometimes Microsoft is a little bit late on the website, but yes, you can do it also and have it on Windows Server 2016. But remember, you have to have your credentials. Otherwise, there is no chance for the next generation Syncline. So looking about all these stuff, you see, if you take Windows 8.0 and not 8.1, and starting with the build version 17.3.6674, you see you have to take the next generation Syncline with OneDrive Personal, OneDrive for Business, Groups, and SharePoint Team Sites. That's okay. Means, yes, in Windows 10 it comes with installed version of an old next generation Syncline, but it will establish all automatically, as I mentioned before, and we will have the new one. That means, yes, you can have that one. Thinking about Windows 8.1, that's a different one. In Windows 8.1, we have smart files. It was integrated in the file system. Therefore, Microsoft decided, okay, if you go with the next generation Syncline, you can sync with this client, OneDrive for Business, Groups, SharePoint, all of the document libraries you will have in Office 365, but OneDrive Personal will be synced with the old SkyDrive exe. It's built in Windows 8.1, so you cannot change that. Perfect. Looking the great picture. Now we have the big picture. On the left side, you see you have a SharePoint server on premise. On the right side, you have a tenant and a personal OneDrive at the top. And all these things can be done with the next generation Syncline, except the ones I have described before. So think about what we can do. You see, there is OneDrive. That's the OneDrive Personal. And the problem is, I spoke about a few minutes. Hey, you can also have more of these icons. Think about, that's a tenant, and you have all these stuff in the tenant A. You also have the possibility to have a tenant B. Whatever tenant B is and what the reason for. As a consultant, sometimes you got the possibility to have for the consulting company, again, another tenant. Therefore, it could be tenant B or tenant C. That means, yes, that's are two, or in this situation, 3 blue icons, one icon in white and one in light blue. And if you have an old SharePoint on-prem version, then you have one more of the dark blue icon. That means that time 4. So it depends on your situation. Therefore, it could be more than one blue icon. So again, what you have in your OneDrive for Business, in team sites, in groups, whatever on OneDrive Personal, and the difference, the most important difference are the filter and the viewer. So now Microsoft has more than 217 different file types. That means, yes, you do not have on your machine installed Adobe Photoshop. If another guy in your company or give you a Photoshop picture, you can view these pictures without any installation of the original program. There are some pictures or some file types for healthcare, Discom, and Visio files and so on. And that means, yes, you can have these ones. That's a great thing, and that's the most important thing about OneDrive for Business. And OneDrive, you have all these document types you will have, and therefore, hey, it's a better one. So thinking about deployment, I've spoken about deployment. Deployment, realize, hey, we have to look a little bit what we can do. The next generation Syncline for administrator is very important. You can have a deployment if you want. You can automate this if you want. That means you can have also some test installation for different people. Then you have to use some registry keys. That's okay. You can also have a deployment without any user action. Automatic configuration for each user's OneDrive for Business. That will automatically do this OneDrive for Business without any user action. Yes, you could do that. And also you have installation via group policies or System Center Configuration Manager. And yes, it's a lot of stuff. The problem sometimes is that you do not want, as an administrator or the company's rule says, you should not have OneDrive Personal on your machine. You, as an administrator, have to have the switch that you cannot do that anymore. So that means, yeah, all this stuff is fully automatically installed and allows automatic installs, allows prevention to use something what you not want to use. For example, that the user cannot change the location of the file. And that's therefore I say, yes, this OneDrive Next Generation Syncline is enterprise ready. So we can talk a little bit more, but we have no time. Therefore, I want to say, and I have spoken about the situation on the Ignite. That was my talk about upgrade your organization to the latest OneDrive Syncline. That was a 20-minute session. People have to stand up, have no seat there. That's in front of the big halls. And there is a 20 minutes video on YouTube. You have all of the link in there, and you have the slides all there, what I have to do and have to say about the 20 minutes. Mac and company. Yes, some people use Mac, and the problem about that is that we all things have also on the Mac side. That means here is a Mac, you see this, and that's the next generation Syncline. And you can say, yes, I want to sync files and I want to selective sync. That's a Mac user experience. But changing again back to the Windows, that's the same situation. Here Windows and here Mac. The same situation, same user experience for all this stuff. Means, yes, we are a little bit more. And sometimes people ask me, hey, you posting about next generation Syncline versions. Yeah, sometimes I know a little bit more. I have a good connection to the programmers group at Redmond, and they give me some information what I have to use, and I give them also and say, hey, that's not the correct version. There is an error here and there. Sometimes I see it a little bit before. Therefore, you have different versions and also different colors, as I mentioned before. Means, yes, there are different versions. And these versions is a possibility to say, as an enterprise customer, you have a later version. That's not the newest version. And therefore, you have to look. Again, if you have a question, tell me your version. You got it with the settings, and then you see all the version number. Give me your version number and give me also, if you know it, the tenant, is this a first release or second release? I got the new name on that. But yes, just feed this information and also your operating system on your client. then it's for me a little bit easier to depend and say what's going on. Again, for test scenario, if you're in Office 365 and you establish the new generation Syncline, if you're Windows 10, it will automatically go to your OneDrive Personal if you want to do that, or you have it automatically or not automatically established to OneDrive for Business. All other things, SharePoint team sites and rooms, are out. Means you have to set up for different users with registry keys that you get a connection. Or you do it globally. But sometimes you want to check it first, therefore use a registry key. And later on, then you can have all these stuff and you see what's going on. That's a registry key. That means team site sync preview, it's setting. Though it means all other persons in your company do not have access. That's the main difference. You can test it with different people, and if the people say, yes, we can work it, it's a little bit different. You have to go to your team sites or to your group and say, yes, going, switch to the document library and press the sync button. But remember, globally, you have no chance if the administrator has said, no, it's only the old things, only the 10 people, therefore we have these registry keys. After the test time, you have to switch in the SharePoint Admin Center with Syncline for SharePoint, switch to, say, to start the new client. Otherwise, the old Groove client will establish. If you have, and will do that tomorrow, is still the situation, it is start the old client and you have to switch if you use some things like groups, teams, etc. and want to synchronize all this data. On the other hand, it's much more Microsoft has implemented in this Syncline. That means also for sharing information. If you have sharing information, that's a different about OneDrive and OneDrive for Business, team sites, and so on. That means the professional variants of the next generation Syncline is doing a little bit more. Means, yes, if you are on the web and also in your Windows machine, you see you can set your link settings if you want to share some information. You can share it to anyone, you can share it to people in your organization, and you can share it to specific people in your organization. That means you can also allow editing or say read only. And sometimes people ask me, hey, we are a company and we want to have for rules that we want to have a list in Excel which describes all links of all our users. And I say to them, yes, for compliance reasons, I know that you want to have that, but thinking about a company with 10,000 users, and the 10,000 users say, hey, what's going on? Each of the 10,000 users have, let's say, 3 links. That means you have 30,000 links in an Excel sheet. Who cares what's in there? Therefore, Microsoft decide, okay, and that's my answer, what they should do. Administrators can give them a limit of dates, of time that they can use for this link. You see that in the last one, there is a 2nd of August, and that means till this time you have established for anyone, but after that the link will be closed automatically. And you describe to the user how long does it take, 90 days or only 60 days or only 30 days. So that's a very interesting feature that we have not the links open anytime and need a big list for compliance reason. No, we can say it's the limit only the 30 days or 60 days or whatever period you want to decide to have. So the next one is available since the 17th of October. That means for the global availability of the Windows 10 Fall Creators Update. That's the second update of Windows 10. And now they have established a very interesting feature. That means now the next generation sync clients talk to Windows directly. They have implemented it in the file system, and you see there is a status bar in there. We have that a little bit with Windows 8.1 in the smart files. But here it's very, very interesting that NTFS, the file system, has two more attributes, and you can also have a batch file or a PowerShell command to change several things you want to do that. That's very interesting. It's integrated in the operating system of Windows 10. And that means it's only in Windows 10. It's not on Windows 7 and not on Windows 8. Why? Microsoft never has done any new functionality in an old system, only in the new system. Therefore, we have it here in the new system. And although the question comes up, what's about Macintosh? The problem is Microsoft is working on that, but they have to do it with Apple people together because they cannot change the rules in File Finder. They cannot do it from Microsoft in the situation there. They do it different. And therefore, they ask about that. On the other hand, we will see that the most important thing is the green ones, we have the different simple tiles. The green ones are for, I want to have all of these green ones always on my disk. If I have no internet, I see all the information. I can work offline with them. The other one is the green marker. That means, yes, sometimes you have it. If you want to do it, you have opened it and it was temporarily opened. And then you see the cloud. That means only in cloud. The most imperfect is that you have all the information with name and icons here about 1 terabyte of data. Sorry, I have no machine with 1 terabyte anymore. But you see, size on disk, 0 bytes. That's the most important thing if you haven't seen that. That's all the reason why you have perhaps the information and want to have the creators fall update, the second update for Windows 10, if you spoke it in the big information about that. You also see that if you have pictures, the pictures are also have the symbols in there, and you see all the 121 megabytes, but no, I ask it again, no bytes on disk. It's magic and it's wonderful what you will have. If you were to the decision, hey, these 4 files or other files I have permanent in use, I want to keep disk free space, you can say free up space, and then it's only in the cloud. It's no longer synchronized the data with your machine. It's only in the cloud. You do not delete anything. So that's the best way for all these stuff. We want to do that. And can also have a completely machine, a folder on your machine. Always keep on this device, and it's only one command on the right mouse button. So then it will take a little bit while and synchronize all these data only on this device, not on the other device. So normally I can say, yes, it's the end. But now we switch to Ignite. Because on Ignite, Microsoft do so many news, therefore I have a different section. The latest news of direct from Ignite. And first of all, Microsoft say, hey, now 1 year is done and we have more than 100 new features and functionality since the last year's Ignite in 2016. Over 100 new features. That, yes, you see, that's not only on Windows, it's also on Windows Mobile, it's also on other mobile machines, and it's also done for Macintosh. Many, many new features in 1 year. But there also says, hey, we have some new functionality. First, files on demand. We have spoken about that. Second, support for IRM or Digital Right Management Library Sync. Again, till end of the year, they will have this feature. Now, if you have an IRM DRM library on your Office 365, you will have to use GrooveXE. At the end of the year, we will have this functionality. That means, yes, then you have only next generation Syncline and do not want to have GrooveXE anymore. We have the capabilities of multi-geolocations. That means you can have it normally where a tenant is stable in Europe, for example, and have a great dependence in US, and therefore you have the possibilities not only to have different locations with different security rules, but also the possibility to say, I want to save for whatever reasons, better latency and all these stuff, and move the data to the other geolocation. There are some possibilities also on the Ignite. You have to look for that. That's a great feature. Other features I want to implement till end of the year is service level encryption with a customer key. People ask so often, we have and you want to use a customer key, but we want to have although not only a customer key, we want to have co-authoring with a customer key. And that's not so easy to understand. Microsoft will do that, service level encryption with customer keys till end of the year. And for most of you, for deployment, I spoke about that. That will come also an auto account configuration with ADIL, and that's very interesting to have this one. So that means, yes, it's fully automatic. You only need one thing, the credentials of the user and his password. And then you will see, hey, that works also. All things are automatically connected to OneDrive for Business. Select all the data, including the background of your old machine and all this stuff. It will be done with only two things, your name and your credentials. Sometimes I want to see per myself which folder I'm sharing with whom, and that will come also till end of the year. Sometimes you want to have a migration toolkit to migrate your data from file servers and so on to OneDrive for Business. This time you can do it manually. That's not interesting if you have more than 500 users, or you have to have a third-party toolkit. And it costs money. Now FastTrack although have the first version. Yes, you have to test it. There are something I don't like, but it's the first version and I will do that. Although, if you have OneDrive and want to have it with on-premise version, and you have an Android app, that will have supported also. That means on your mobile app, yes, the app will functionally. That's only the connection to this version, and that will also work with mobile devices. Sometimes it's very interesting with the open and edit experience. There is a difference in all these things, and sometimes they have the difference between the Office version and also the normal versions, and therefore you have to see that their experience will be closer. We have some photo intelligence. I don't want to describe it. I don't remember it exactly what it was. But sometimes they have also some information about desktop notification. That means, yes, you got better notification about all this stuff. It will come also in Windows 10. And if you use Office in the new Office versions, we will have the same sharing experience inside the Office. That means, yes, you can have it, press a button in your Excel or Word or whatever program in Office you have, and it will share, and the same dialog we will have on the Windows File Explorer will also come up in Office. They also will have new zip file support. That's very interesting. If normal you have a big zip file and you can say, okay, I only look inside and I only want inside the zip file the 2 or 3 pictures I want to have, not all. I don't want to like these great data amount to move it down, to sync it down. Now it's better. You can have inside a zip file and select data you want to have it on your machine. And if you deploy Office for Mac, the problem is that the next generation Syncline is available over the store. It's all available separately to install it. But if you want to have an Office version from your Office 365 side for a Mac, it will include the next generation sync client for your Office machine. They also have changed it for Windows, but this is done perfectly. That means nowadays you will have your Office, not the old Groove client with it. We have to exclude it in the past. Now they will also have the next generation sync client on the machine. If it's not the newest one, you know, you have heard it. That's the best way to say when the first thing is connected, it will also make a refresh and make a self-update about all this stuff. So last not least, and therefore it's a great thing to say, hey, we will have next year with SharePoint 2019, a preview will come in spring next year in 2018, and in the autumn of 2018 they will release the new SharePoint Server 2019. And with this version, you may also able to select and say, I want to have the next generation Syncline and select to all. We do not need Groove any longer. But remember, that's till end of this year. You see next generation Syncline to Office 365. The old Groove client to old Server 2007, 2010, 2013, and 2016 on-premise machines, and also to Doc Library protected with IAM in Office 365. Till end of year 2017, we expanded next generation Syncline is available now for Doc Library protected with information rights management. It's for me one of the biggest advantages. And then till end of the year, but you have to remember it costs a lot of money to update on from 2007, 2013, 2016 and SharePoint to a 2019 version. And you see, then you always have this version, next generation Syncline will sync all of the above. But okay, there's a little bit more. A little bit more about how do I protect my enterprise security and compliance for all the users for special malware things. Now that means, yes, they rename all your stuff on your machine, and if it's sync, you have it also in the cloud. So they make it on a self-portal. That means that is a new name, Restore My OneDrive for Business. That means, yes, you can see in the right side on the graph that will have a lot of traffic, and you can have it on the second. And therefore, it means, yes, on this time, you will see all this stuff and can say, now I want to restore it. Restore at this second of minute exactly. Therefore, although a message comes up that means, hey, are you sure you want to restore your OneDrive? It's about 2,300 changes to this time. Therefore, the question comes up. And if you say, I want to restore it, it will be restored. And you do not have to do 2,300 renames manually or to write your own batch file. That's a better version for each user if sometimes it will come up. So thinking about all of this stuff, I have some recommendations for you. First, think about all OneDrive sessions on the Ignite. You find all these sessions with a full video, and also if you want to have some slides for your company and say, hey, I want to display them, what the best reason, what we will do in the future, whatever as is, the slides is also. I have fished all the links in there. Therefore, you need this session and these slides, and then you can have your slides and push it out. You therefore have the possibility with the code number BRK2229 and so on, and have to search on YouTube, and you fill also the right information. Second, recommendations. The platform, the OneDrive block. Thinking about that Microsoft OneDrive now is recognized as the leader from Gartner, the Magic Quadrant. Now we are leader with OneDrive. And yes, it will work. Therefore, you have to look about these block entries and can tell you the other people, yes, Microsoft is going the right way. Thinking about all this stuff, I write a plug in 2 different languages, in German and in English. It takes a lot of time for me, but it's okay. Therefore, you can leave it. I have about 770 plugs entries, and therefore you find all the information over there. Last not least, the OneDrive Roadmap. You see, with the launched version of new functionality, what is currently rolling out. Rolling out is not that in the moment that Microsoft press a button that you will have in all tenants, all versions, all these new functionalities. It takes a little bit time. And also in deployment or development, they have most of them 26 new features. Therefore, you see, that's the right thing where you have to go http://roadmap.office.com for the roadmap. That's completely roadmap, and I have filtered it to OneDrive. So you see, that's a lot of stuff you have to read. And also some links for you. And the last thing is we can take a little bit more. Microsoft gives us mode members the possibility you have the managers of the OneDrive group directly. Normally, you can do that via user voice, but that's from the users then to Microsoft on a different level. And now one manager has said you can connect directly to me. And that means for each session, I and the other mode members will hold to talk about OneDrive for Business. I got a new survey. The survey takes 5 to 10 minutes to fill it out. It's 3 or 4 questions, multiple choice. You only have to say yes, no, or whatever. But there is also a field you can talk to them and can say, yes, I want to have it. I want to give you feedback a little bit more in our environment. It's different, not only for errors, no, for new functionality, what you want to have to say, and it's written by the manager himself. So therefore, you have to fill it up. And also, the next slide, you can have a photo via the QR code or have the slides available over bit.ly global conference/OneDrive. That means, yes, you have the information and have all these slides we have talked in the last 50 minutes. And if you have any question, send me an email. Therefore, again, my email or my Twitter account. But again, also, give me a little bit time to answer your question and bring always the version of the next generation Syncline and the operating system, what you have. It's easier for me. Otherwise, I answer with a question back. So now we are at the end. Therefore, I wish you have a great time on this global conference, and therefore I want to say thank you that you are listening on my session, and we see us perhaps anywhere on the planet where I want to speak. Thank you so much. Bye.